In the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Dear students, welcome all of you, and how are you? Today we will discuss about the topic sense organs such as human eye.
After this lesson you will be able to extend students' knowledge of their sense organs. Identify the 5 sense organs. Describe the structure of the eye and explain how the eye detects changes in the environment. Sense organs are the specialized organs composed of sensory neurons, which help us to perceive and respond to our surroundings. The 5 sense organs are the eyes, for seeing; nose, for smelling; ears, for hearing; tongue, for tasting; and skin, for touching or feeling. The eye is an important and one of the most complex sense organ that we humans are endowed with. It helps us in visualizing objects and also helps us in light perception, color and depth perception. Besides, these sense organs are pretty much similar to cameras, and they help us see objects when light coming from outside enters into them. The eyes are held in place by muscles which also move our eyes up and down and from side to side. We have 2 eyes few centimeters apart. Each eye sees a slightly different image. The brain puts the 2 images together to give a 3-dimensional effect. This effect is called stereoscopic. Stereoscopic vision describes the ability of the visual brain to register a sense of 3-dimensional shape and form from the visual inputs. In current usage, stereoscopic vision often refers uniquely to the sense of depth derived from the coordinated use of information from the 2 eyes. Now we will discuss the structure of human eyes. A human eye is roughly 2.3 centimeters in diameter and is almost a spherical ball filled with some fluid. Now we will discuss its different parts in detail.
Iris : the colored part of the eye. When we say a person has blue eyes, we really mean the person has blue irises. The iris has muscles attached to it that change its shape. This allows the iris to control how much light goes through the pupil. The color of the iris affects how much light gets in. The iris controls light constantly, adapts to lighting changes, and is responsible for near-point reading to see close. Pupils must constrict to control how much light goes through the pupil.
Pupil. The hole in the middle of the iris is called pupil. Its size is controlled by the help of iris. It controls the amount of light that enters the eye. The pupil is the black circle in the center of the iris, which is really an opening in the iris, and it lets light enter the eye. To see how this works, use a small flashlight to see how your eyes or a friend's eyes respond to changes in brightness. The pupils will get smaller when the light shines near them and they'll open wider when the light is gone. Cornea: it acts like a window at the front of the eye. The cornea helps the eye focus as light makes its way through. It is a very important part of the eye, but you can hardly see it because it's made of clear tissue, like clear glass. It needs to be smooth, round, clear, and tough. It is like a protective window. The function of the cornea is to let light rays enter the eye and converge the light rays.
Aqueous humor: it is the water liquid and jelly help the eyeball to keep its shape. The eye receives oxygen through the aqueous. Its function is to nourish the cornea, iris, and lens by carrying nutrients. It removes waste products excreted from the lens, and maintain pressure and thus maintains the shape of the eye. Muscles: some muscles move the eyeball and some change the shape of the lens. Sclera. The white part of the eyeball is called the sclera, say, sclera. The sclera is made of a tough material and has the important job of covering most of the eyeball. Think of the sclera as your eyeball's outer coat. Look very closely at the white of the eye, and you'll see lines that look like tiny pink threads. These are blood vessels, the tiny tubes that deliver blood to the sclera.
Lens colon. After light enters the pupil, it hits the lens. The lens sits behind the iris and is clear and colorless. The lens job is to focus light rays on the back of the eyeball. Retina. The retina is the light-sensitive nerve tissue in the eye that converts images from the eye's optical system into electrical impulses that are sent along the optic nerve to the brain to interpret as vision. Working of human eye. 1. The rays of light from the object enters the eye through a hole or opening called pupil. 2. The amount of light entering the eye is controlled by the iris. 3. The muscles of the iris change the size of the pupil to allow more or less light to pass through. 4. Then the light rays passes through the lens, which is made up of a jelly-like substance. The lens is a clear disc-like structure that helps to focus light on the retina. It can do this because it is adjustable and uses a muscle called the ciliary muscle to change shape and help us focus on objects at different distances. 5. Once the image is clearly focused on the sensitive part of the retina, energy in the light that makes up that image creates an electrical signal. Nerve impulses can then carry information about that image to the brain through the optic nerve. The brain interprets signals from the retina and produces the picture that you see.
Summary of the working of human eye. The ray of light enters from the object. It passes through the cornea, pupil and lens. The rays of light strike retina and set up signals in some of its nerve cells. The image formed on the retina is upside down or inverted. The nerve cells send signals to the brain along the optic nerve. The brain interprets the signal and produces the picture that we can see.
At the end, students, you have to recapitulate the lesson by using worksheets, question bank and quiz for more understanding of the topic. You have to write down the question and their answers on your notebooks. Thanks.